Hello, everybody. My name is Jay Linder, and I'm happy to have everybody here with us today for our new programming that we're doing for COPEC under the Daily Financial Wellness Webcast programming. Today, our topic is going to be QuickBooks, and we've got a special guest with us, Jill Spradlin, who's a CPA and works with QuickBooks quite a bit. I'm going to go through a little bit of disclosure and just set up information for us to get things started. And then from basically 2:07 or so to 2:30, we're going to go ahead and have a good dialogue with Jill about QuickBooks. And then we will spend some time for open Q&A from 2:30 to 3. To get things going, again, my name is Jay Linder, one of the founders of COPEC. The other host that we have is going to be Jerry Snyder. He'll be in from time to time doing different days as well. And so you'll meet both of us through that role. Let me go ahead and get started here. Because there is financial-based information and we are affiliated with COPEC, wanted to go ahead and get some disclosure out there for you. I'm going to leave it on here for about a minute. Go ahead and look that over. You can also get this disclosure off of the COPEC Education website, but take a look at that first and then we'll get started here shortly.
If you stop it.
Okay, and then as we get going here, just let you guys know we're learning a lot of this, like a lot of you. We're experts in a lot of different industries, and so we're also making sure that we can set up all of our videos. And we're getting Jill here to join us here shortly, and there she is. And then Jill, if you could go ahead, and you're unmuted. So great to have you here. I'm going to go through a little bit more here, everybody. This page here, it's real important. I go through a couple of areas. What is COPEC? This is a nonprofit 501c3 organization that has it was actually founded back in 2004 to provide additional education outreach with no expectation of selling, and there's no cost. And so we're real excited to continue to give new and different education resources to you. So we're happy to do that. Again, just a disclosure there that COPEC and Retirement Strategies are affiliated as they're under common control. So to make sure that disclosure is out there. The Daily Financial Wellness Livestream, again, this is a repeating program every day from 2 to 3, really 2 to 2:30, and then we have open questions from 2:30 to 3. And it's an opportunity for everybody really to get involved and as a resource. Obviously, we don't get too specific because we can't do that, but general information, guidance, we really want to provide that to you, and that's what this program's for. Should not be, this is all general nature and should not be construed in any way as personal individual advice. The programming technology, obviously there is errors that happen from time to time. We are not set up by Wi-Fi, we're all hardline, so we shouldn't have too many troubles, but you never know. If that happens, we'll make sure we try to get the program up and running as fast as possible. The open Q&A from 2:30 to 3, we're not gonna have it from now till 2:30, but from 2:30 to 3, send any questions in through the Q&A, not the chat, just through the Q&A. If there's any urgent issues you want to get to one of the panelists or hosts, you can send that through either, and we'll get back with you. But send any questions you have. Also, I want to mention, if there's any topics you want us to discuss, also send that in, and we'll put that on our list going forward. Holidays, we are trying to do this every day, but obviously Thanksgiving, most likely the day after Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas, those types of things, we will not be doing the program. So just be aware of that. And feel free to share this with others. On the right panel there, you can see a laundry list of guests that we're going to have throughout the year. And so a lot of those have a great insight for us to really dig into. And so looking forward to having these programs ongoing on a regular basis. Real quick, back to the website. Most of you came through on the website, the Daily Webcast. That's one of 5 or 6 features, if you will. On there, you'll be able to see that there's schedules for August, September, October. We'll keep those going out so you can see which programs you'd like to pay attention to and listen into, and put that on your calendar. Here's an example. This is the August calendar. So this week, today, we're going to do QuickBooks, and then we're going to talk about some aging discussions. We're going to have the Better Business Bureau join us on Wednesday. We're going to do some financial planning on Thursday, and we're going to have our lawyer in Friday to talk a little bit about inheritance and beneficiaries. So pay attention to those and kind of stay on top of the ones you would like to listen to. In addition to these daily programs, we're also doing retirement decisions workshops. Some of those are in person, some are going to be web-based. But if you click on that middle tile on the Financial Wellness Portal, that'll let you know what's up and coming. And those programs do require registration for those ones specifically. And then the last one is Financial Wellness Fridays. Every Friday, we're going to do a different lecture series. And for example, this Friday, Jill's going to be back with us and talk a little bit about the CARES Act and some of the changes and things that are going on in the with the tax changes with the CARES Act. So join us on Friday. That'll be an hour-long lecture series, and hopefully we'll see you there. Down at the bottom left, if you have any program, or if you'd like anybody to come and do a presentation for you, your department, your company, whatever it might be, go ahead and put a request in here, and we'll help set that up for you. And lastly, if you have some questions or concerns, we do have a resource where you can actually set up a 15-minute call with one of our advisors, and we can give you some insight as to whatever that area or references or referrals, whatever it might be, to help you with whatever those questions are. Many times people have life events that really trigger a lot of need, and we're happy to give you that direction. But more importantly today, we're really going to talk to Jill about QuickBooks. One of the reasons why we thought QuickBooks was a great one to start on is we actually get a lot of questions from listeners and clients that might have their own consulting business on the side. Maybe they have a spouse who deals with this on the side as well. And so we thought it'd be good to kind of kick it off with a lot of people trying to make sure they understand what they can and can't do, and how to manipulate those programs and things of that such in QuickBooks. So we're going to go ahead and Jill, if you have anything you want to throw in there, obviously Jill's been doing this for over 30 years. She's the owner of RS Tax and Accounting, and she's a CPA. And Jill, do you have any questions or thoughts regarding the QuickBooks to get us kicked off here?
Well, just obviously, the reason we chose to focus on QuickBooks is because probably 97% of small business owners, that's the software that they use. I should say there are other programs out there, but QuickBooks is pretty much the gold standard for small business owners and sole proprietors to keep track of their business profit and loss.
Well, that's great. And I'm glad we have this opportunity to share this today. I think the first thing is, what can QuickBooks software do for small business? What's the realm of what they can really apply to their small business?
Well, if you think about the things that a small business owner needs to know to manage, they need to know, first of all, that they're making a profit, hopefully. They need to know what their income is, and they need to know what their expenses are. They need to know if their pricing is set appropriately. They need to know who their clients are or customers, and they need to be able to search transactions many times for a given customer or a given type of expense. QuickBooks is a very powerful program that affords you the ability to do all of those things.
I know that it comes out with different versions and different types that employees can really put into place. Which version is better? Maybe desktop or online or some of those things, and maybe expound upon that a little bit for those that might be playing around with
Sure.
utilizing that program.
The two main designations, I guess, are QuickBooks Online programs and QuickBooks Desktop software. The original QuickBooks programs were all desktop-based, and many people still use those. They run the gamut from very simple programs to quite extensive programs. There's a series called QuickBooks Enterprise that are tailored to individual industries, and they're much more expensive and not really what we're discussing here. The basic desktop programs are very powerful. The main pro with them is that you purchase it once and you do not need to pay a monthly fee. They are a little less friendly for sharing with accountants or other advisors or tax people, because QuickBooks Online affords you the opportunity to invite up to two accountants to get into the program, where they are able to make changes to it, to delve into the detail of transactions. And then the con side of that is that there is a monthly charge. So you are just purchasing that as you go.
That's interesting. So again, you can share this information with the accountant, so it really helps you bring it all together and be able to display it and integrate. Do you have examples of maybe how this might look like? Or?
Yes, I've got actually a screen of the QuickBooks Online program to share with you. And that is, this is a sample company that QuickBooks has installed in this program for people to look at. And it shows the dashboard that you see when you bring up your company in QuickBooks Online. And it's arranged to be fairly user-friendly, to show bank account information here, invoices paid and unpaid that you may have with customers, a breakdown of your expenses, profit and loss information, sales and revenue information, and many other things that you can delve into more detail at any level. So the reporting is quite powerful and very customizable as well. We've got in addition, we have samples of the profit and loss statement. This is the heart of a business, is obviously knowing if you're making a profit, because that's the reason that you're pursuing the industry you're in. And to keep track of that as you go, you're entering income and expense information constantly, and at any time you can pull up for any given period of time, a month, year to date, prior year, whatever it is, and look at the income and the revenue that you have had for that period. In this instance, we've got some income items totaling $10,200.77. This is for the period of, this column is actually for January 1 through today of this calendar year. And then you've got total expenses of various types of $5,237.31. And as you can see, the difference there is net operating income of $4,558.46. Then in this case, apparently the user has had a fair amount of expenses that they do not yet know how to categorize, and they have put those in as miscellaneous. And these are the types of things that when they're unsure, an accountant can go in, look at, and determine how they should be categorized so that you get a clear picture of what your expenses actually are. So it's very collaborative in that sense.
I know that I've seen in the past different types of, when clients start, or an individual startup, they might do it in an Excel spreadsheet. Can you kind of, discuss a little bit about what the pros and cons, because again, as an accountant, I'm sure you don't really care how it's done as long as it's very easily transferable to you in usable information. We kind of joke around about the people that bring you your taxes in a shoebox and it's just a big mess. And the idea is that while you're setting this up, you're really kind of categorizing this as best as possible, so you're not paying somebody else to filter through all this noise and bring it into an organized sense. Do you find that individuals that do it on their own versus, and again, I know that you're not out here promoting this, it's really the idea of promoting an organized fashion, correct? Making sure that it's done in a way that really makes that transfer of information not only accurate, but easy to whoever's doing your taxes if you're not doing it yourself.
Yes, correct. Excel, while it is a step up from the shoebox method, it's really only one step up from that. It's often not very easy to see how someone has come up with the figures that they've put into an Excel spreadsheet. It's even worse if it's a handwritten document, honestly. For the accountant or the tax preparer to have a degree of comfort with the figures they're working with, it's helpful to them to see what went into those figures. And a program that's more data-based allows them to do that. And if they have questions, sometimes they can answer their own questions and not have to have a delayed back and forth with the taxpayer. So it's kind of a win all the way around. It helps the business owner manage. That's probably the most important thing. And it also eases both the time and expense of tax preparations to use a more organized system such as this.
Well, that's good. So basically you're saying it'll definitely make tax reporting a lot easier when you bring this all together.
Yes, and more accurate.
And more accurate. And how often does somebody who does their own tracking, do they also do their own taxes versus somebody that does tracking, they have somebody else do their taxes versus the final, which is I want somebody else help me set up with QuickBooks versus, and does the taxes as well, because I've seen it across the board where people do it all themselves. And maybe things that they need to watch out for, because again, it isn't wrong for people to want to do these themselves. It's trying to make sure you're doing it right yourself. Correct. Versus doing it yourself. Sometimes people feel, I do it myself, but how do you really know? And what kind of advice can you give those people? Either, how they fall out in those different realms, if you will.
It's really helpful if you've decided to use a program to track your income and expenses and so on, to get some training in it, either one-on-one training, or there's a number of online programs, even YouTube videos now that are quite in-depth to teach you how to use programs to your best advantage. We're always, with our clients, we're always quite open to call us anytime if you have questions or if you need us to walk you through doing a certain task. Invoicing, things like that can get a little overwhelming if you've never done it before. So a lot of times that puts people at ease, and it's usually fairly quickly that they catch on, because the program is not, it's designed for non-accountants and people who are not deeply experienced in bookkeeping. So that's a good thing. It's also good, I think, for them to have a hand in it themselves, because it involves them much more as they go along in their decision making. If they are kind of aware of what their income is and their expenses are before they get a report at some later period in time. That having been said, also you can map accounts in a QuickBooks program to a tax return and almost seamlessly transfer the information over to a tax program and have 90% of the thing prepared for you automatically almost, which cuts down on both errors and the time and expense.
Yeah, and two things really, time and expense. I mean, the balancing between somebody who does things themselves, where they may also do all of their bookkeeping, their bill paying, all that stuff, which is fine, and then transitioning that if they work with an accountant to make sure that they minimize that cost that they're being charged by that accountant, but making sure whoever internally is helping you with the bookkeeping, that you're not actually creating a higher expense to fix all the errors if there are errors. So
Right.
if you're going to commit to this, commit to it, do it right, do it thorough. Otherwise, maybe get some help with it, or have somebody in your office who is very comfortable with numbers. They can double check things. They can maybe do verification before anything gets to a higher priced consultant to help you save money in this whole process.
That's true. We have a number of clients who largely do their own bookkeeping and check in with us quarterly, in some cases that's monthly, to check their figures, make adjusting entries, and some things, depreciation and subjects that are a little beyond them, to do things appropriate to accounting standards. But the day-to-day transactions they input and have gotten comfortable with that. So.
We mentioned earlier different versions. Can you explain again the pros and cons of, I guess QuickBooks, they've got like a desktop version versus an online version. If somebody's doing it on their own, which, is there a way to lean one way? Can you even do this in a general sense? And if you're working with an accountant, is there a better way that we have different access points or something like that? If somebody's getting set up on this, which way should they look?
Well, it kind of depends on what their most important criteria are. It is more costly to do it on QuickBooks Online. It is easier to share information back and forth with an accountant. With the desktop version, you're still required to make a backup copy, send it to the accountant, have them make changes, integrate that back with your main copy, and version control can get to be an issue. That's the way we've done it for many, many years, using only the desktop program. But in the last decade or so, the QuickBooks Online version is becoming more and more popular. People grow a little more comfortable with that. And then in that case, it's a collaborative file that's in the cloud that both the accountant and the client can work on.
What are some popular maybe integrations that QuickBooks works with, and as far as making it easier to apply it with other technology?
There's a number of add-on programs. There are timekeeping programs if you have subcontractors, 1099 workers, or employees. There are a number of other reporting programs if you desire more specialized reporting. There are also sharing programs. You can make QuickBooks Desktop shareable through a third-party program. Again, there's an additional expense that goes along with that. So then you still have to start looking at, would the online product just be more appropriate in that instance?
Right. Do you want to show anything else on here, like how data is entered, or maybe how a report would, different reports?
Yeah, I thought I would maybe just share the bank register with you, and also drill down into one of the accounts to show how that works. In this case, with the profit and loss, you've got expenses, and you've got them categorized by type of expense. If you come over to a number in a report and click on that, under job expenses here, we have our cursor. If we click on that, it will bring up the transactions that make up that figure in the report. So you can see, well, what do we have under job expenses? And then if you want to look at in more detail at a given item, it will drill down to the check or invoice that created that item. So you can see exactly who the vendor or customer was, the date, the amount. In some cases, you can see the products that were purchased. It depends on how much detail has been input. So you have a very, very powerful capacity to go in and look at individual transactions months or years even after they were done if there's something that you have a question about. In addition, we can look at the bank account just in general as a check register. And it's a more familiar way for people to view things than if they're unfamiliar with the financial reports that come out of accounting systems, and they're more comfortable sometimes looking at a running check register. That's available as well. And you can also input entries directly onto that if you're comfortable doing that. So in this case, we've brought up a checking account that shows in these categories, they've named it spent and received. That would be deposits and expenses. And then you can scroll down through that to see what transactions have taken place over a period of time and then the balance and so on. So.
Great. Any other piece of information you want to share as we're kind of closing out this brief discussion and turn it over to some questions?
Well, just that we do prefer people to get as much knowledge up front in using the program, starting out in setting up their accounts and in doing the entry that they need to do, so that we don't have to do a lot of corrections. As you mentioned, that can be even more expensive than us doing all the work completely. So if people want to take on doing their own, most people are well able to do it. They do need to get a little bit of training up front.
How many people do you find can learn on their own versus getting training? Does the program do a good job training them, or is it difficulty of taking that information and actually making it useful to an accountant?
It kind of depends on someone's other past experience. Some of our clients, after a very brief introduction, 2 to 4 hours of introduction to the program and setting it up, are pretty good to go on their own. They'll check in if they have an unusual entry to make or an unusual question. Others will struggle with it. They'll try and they'll end up turning it back over to ask us to do the all the inputs, because it's just not their cup of tea, if you will. And they don't want to. They've discovered that it's just not worth it to them to do it themselves. So it depends on if you've got someone in your organization that's willing and comfortable doing it, and how large your business grows as well. Some people outgrow the ability to do their own.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit about QuickBooks. We're excited about your program this Friday. There's a lot of information going on out there, and I really think people need to listen in and get an idea as to how some of these laws that everybody hears about, the CARES Act and the Secures Act, and there's all these different things that are going on out there, and it's real important for people to get up to speed on it. So thank you for doing that this coming Friday. For those that are interested this Friday, again, you don't need to register. Just go to the COPEC website and log in at the time of the program. And also, again, tomorrow, we'll have some discussions on aging. And I think we're going to have a change of speaker on that. But basically, we're going to get into that on Tuesday, and then the BBB on Wednesday, and then some planning and legal on Thursday and Friday. So keep checking your schedule. We'd like for you to join us as often as possible and stay part of these discussions. We really appreciate everybody tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, and check out the schedule, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jill, for joining us, and we'll see everybody soon.